Okay, good morning. So today we want to polish off quite a few things, and I want to start with an apology. I'm not going to be around for Friday's lesson, so you're going to have some stuff today that I'll write up on class charts that you can do during Friday's lesson. So by the end of today, I want us to do a little bit more on JavaScript. I want to understand a little bit more of what you can do on GitHub, and I want you to understand how your project is going to be more complex than what we've done for the metronome project, and also different to waterfall model. Okay, so let's start with your GitHub repository. So far we've just been committing and then pushing at the end of each lesson so that you can carry on at home. We haven't yet used issues, and if you go to any open source project, the way that you can get involved in an open source project is by looking at what the issues are, getting involved, and either following what other people have done or contributing yourself. So we're going to start putting in some issues on here that we can resolve. Now that means that you need to have your Word document open. Yikes, what have I done with it? And I think we got up to the point where we were using our test table as a checklist of what to code, and we haven't yet done the high contrast thing. We haven't yet done a visual indication of when it beeps, and we haven't yet made an audible beep. So you don't have to do this for your actual project, but I think it's a really useful thing, and I'm going to teach you how to do it anyway, because this is how pretty much everything works in industry, and you can do it in your project. It's a nice way to keep track of what you're working on. So click on issues, make a new issue, and then describe what you want to get working. If it has got something in your test table, then you can name that if you want. That'd be quite sensible. So I'm going to say in my test table, tests 15. Oop, with caps lock on, there we go. Come on. Test 15. Audible beep. And you describe what the issue is and what you want to happen. I'd like to hear a beep when the metronome clicks. If you want, you can assign it to people, you can give it a certain label, and you can give it a milestone. Now bear in mind that in Waterfall there are no milestones. You've either not done any coding, or you are coding, or you've finished all of your coding. You do it all in one go. Today's lesson we move away from Waterfall and we think what you'll do for your project with an iterative approach. So let's make some milestones, shall we? Let's have first prototype, prototype 1. And then we're going to make another prototype, milestone, prototype 2. I don't want to apply that milestone, I just want to say that it exists, so I'm kind of making it in here. And I'm going to make 2 versions of the project. So this audible beep, I think, is going to be to do with the second prototype. And the second prototype is going to be one that actually works. We'll call what we've done already the first prototype. What is a prototype? It's something that you can show to your user and get some feedback. So let's submit a new issue. Done. Let's make another issue. So what have we got in our test table? You'll be doing this as well with your test numbers. A visual indication. So I'm going to say test 17. I'd like to see an animation that shows when the metronome clicks. I'll mark it as part of that prototype. Done. What else? Maybe I want a third prototype. So I kind of show the basic user I show the basic user interface to my client first and get some feedback, and they can decide, oh, I like that, or I want the buttons in a different place, etc. And then I'm working towards a second prototype where it actually works and beeps. And then maybe I have a third prototype with this high contrast mode for partially sighted people. So let's do that, shall we? Make a new issue. This is my test. Why have I got test 198? Don't know. Test 18. High visibility. High contrast. And you describe what success looks like. I'll set it for a new milestone. Here we go. And submit the issue. Why are we doing this? Well, one, because now other people in your project can say, I could do this, and you can assign it to people. Another way is so that you can keep track of what you're working on. And I'll show you how you can kind of integrate it. So let's do visual indication first. So how did we do this? We needed to right click and open the folder in File Explorer. Then you can get your index.html. And there's no visual indication. I think it says it in the console, but I wanted something that will flash every time it ticks. So let's have a think. How can we do this? Is this going to be JavaScript, HTML or CSS? It's going to be JavaScript because it's to do with the behavior. Can I control and click? No, that would be far too easy. Let's try again. Right, I need something that flashes. Suppose you could make the button itself flash. That would work. Or you can have an extra element, or you could flash the logo. I'm going to flash the logo, I think. That'd be nice. So what is my logo? It's got an ID of logo. Have I got something here to be able to identify it in code? Not yet. So there we go. I've got an object now which I can enable or disable. And rather than saying tick, what I want to happen, I suppose I could toggle it. How can we do that? Well, I'm going to need a variable that's either true or false. Indicator visible, should we call it that? And then we can say indicator visible is the opposite of indicator visible. And console.log indicator. It nearly swore, but I am recording. Shouldn't do that. There we go. Let's try that. Right, let's start it. And it should toggle between true and false. There we go. Nice. I want to be able to use that to make this visible or invisible. I've spoon-fed you so far. I'd like you to try and research how to do that. I'll pause the video and see who can get there first. So I won't name the winner whilst I'm recording, but we get the element, so I've called that logo. We can access the style, and then you can change the property of it. So what have we got in CSS for the logo? I've got have I got a border color? Don't think I have. Let's have a look. If I put a white border around the edge, then I should be able to toggle that different colours. So I want either white or red. There we go. If I make it white by default, then in JavaScript, if I say style.border color, and then I can toggle it in here. I can say, depending on indicator visible, if it's true, I'd like it to be red. If it's false, I'd like it to be white. Will it work? Let's see. Come on. Yeah, look at that. So it doesn't beep yet, but it does toggle in time Does it automatically adjust? Did we make it do that? Yeah, that's not bad, that. Right, when you've got some code that you're happy with, here's the exciting bit, and I think this is exciting. We're going to commit it as normal. So click on the changes, change 3 files. And in your description here, we say which issue we're currently working on. So this is visual indication for me, which is my issue number 2. It's not the test number, it's the issue here. So I could say completed test 2 if I wanted, optional. No, completed test 17, or just describe what I've done, visual indication. Here's the clever bit, closes #2. Commit this. Nothing's happened here yet because it's only committed to my local computer. But when we push it, come on, you can do it, and then refresh the page, that issue has disappeared because it's been closed. You can still see it if you want, because we can see the closed ones on there too. There's a really nice way of matching your your commits to actual tasks that you're working on. If you decide you want to go back and do some more on it, you can open it again later, but when you're looking back and you can see, right, this is what I want to do, you can see the actual change. Right, I changed this, I moved this around, I added this code in, and see exactly what you wanted to do. Why is this useful? It's really useful for checking back on your project. If you forgot to write it up as you go, you can go back and see which code you added in. It's really good for keeping track of what you've done, or if you're working with multiple people, you can see what changes were introduced at any point. It's a really nice way of doing things. Okay. So 2 challenges for you to do. I'm not going to show you how to do all of these. I'll let you research them. But I will show you how to make your own sounds. So we'll work in Audacity. A normal metronome will have 2 tones. You'll have beep, 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 which is rather monotonous and hard to work out what the start of a beat, what the start of a bar is. So the first beat is usually a different beep, like beep, 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 and I'll stop because I can see how annoyed you're getting. And you can change it whether it's in 4/4, as in you count in 4s, or 6/8, or 3/4, or whatever. So we'll use Audacity to generate a tone, and you can choose how high the tone is. You can look up the frequency of middle C, I think this is middle C or something like that, and how long it lasts for. I think this is 1 second. I don't want 1 second, I want just maybe 1/10 of a second will be fine. And I think my speaker is switched off. But there we go, we've got a sound. It's not copyright. We own it. We created it. Come on. Oh, my screen's not on. Seamlessly done. So you can save this as a WAV. You can put it in your folder, and then you can try and work out how to play it with JavaScript. But I am not going to show you how to do that. You'll have to try and research it. Similarly, I'll talk you through how you could try and attempt this. There's all sorts of different ways. I want a button or a toggle switch or something like that. And when you tick it, it applies a new class to the body tag, or it applies a new set of rules to something else. So we'll have 2 different style sheets really, a high contrast one and a low contrast one. And your HTML input will be triggering some JavaScript which toggles those CSS tags. So those are 2 of your challenges that you'll have to do both today and on Friday. So far we've done a really simple project using Waterfall. Waterfall is ideal for either a very small project or a very large project, one where the requirements are very clearly defined in advance. It is not good for your project because you get marks for an iterative development cycle, which is much more what we'll talk about in Spiral, which we'll move on to later this lesson, where you have an initial idea, you work towards a prototype, and then you analyze and design and implement and test a better prototype, and then you analyze and design and implement and test a better prototype, and eventually you spiral around to a better model. We've said that what we've developed over the last couple of weeks together is too simple for your project. Why? Because there's not a huge amount of JavaScript in here. There's not a lot of code. We can't really do validation all that well. We're not really reading stuff from a file or saving it to a database, something like that. But as a possible extension, something like this is what I'm working on for my son's drum lessons. The idea is you can type in some text, any old text. So I've just put in playing the hi-hat instead of t. And then it processes this into ABCGAS notation using JavaScript, and it will generate a score for it. So let's make them all on the 16th notes instead of the 8th notes, and it should play the hi-hat for all of them except for the last one. There we go. It doesn't actually make the sound yet, I haven't got that far, but it should highlight them, say which bar we're in, which beat we're in, and which repetition we're in. And we picked up a second-hand version of this really cheap kids' toy electronic drum kit off Facebook Marketplace. So this is what he's learning on, and he can see what he's supposed to hit at any different place. So hopefully we could slow it down and see exactly what to play. So the metronome project is too simple. There's not enough going on here. You need to really be able to process some data or store some data. This is the same idea really, but it's got some element of some complex data entry. The actual algorithms involved are a little bit more advanced than just working out how long the delay is. This is not a complex project, but it's about the kind of scope that would be achievable in the time frame that you've got for your project. Your project does not have to be web-based. You can do it in Python, you can do it in JavaScript or C# or anything that you like, but you will be expected to learn that framework and technology. I will not be able to help you debug your code, even if you ask me. I can teach you the skills, but I'm not going to, it would be against the rules for me to tell you what to do or to tell you how to do it. So if we start with Waterfall, we've got a recap. It's very easy to manage. It's good for big projects as long as the requirements are really clear in advance. You say what you're going to do, the analysis. You break that down really clearly and work out what success is like. Then you code it, then you test it, and then you roll it out and you maintain it. A better model, in some ways, would be, so the next one in our slides would be Agile. Almost every software development company would describe themselves as Agile, and they all tend to mean something different. So we want the exam board definition of what Agile is. The priority is to keep the customer happy, to let them know early on what their software is going to be like. So instead of waiting until the end of all of these phases before you get feedback, you want to get feedback frequently and at every stage. So we're just having a look at a sample question here. You have to choose one software development lifecycle other than Waterfall and discuss and justify. And then we've got a 9 marker, which is very, very similar. Discuss which 2 software development life cycles we could go for. And these questions come up over and over and over again. So let's see what we're supposed to be talking about. Let's zoom in. First of all, Waterfall is linear, whereas Agile is iterative. Have we used that word in our definition? Probably not. Let's add it. This is an iterative approach. That iterative word comes up in the mark scheme for your project. So you can do your project as Agile. You can pretty much do your project as any of these because they're iterative except for Waterfall. What does iterative mean? We talk about iteration in programming by repetition. We're repeatedly improving our project. One prototype followed by the next prototype, followed the next prototype. In Waterfall, you agree on what you're going to do earlier on. New requirements can only be adopted if you've got an Agile or XP. This is comparing extreme programming, which is our next one, by the way. So you've got a sneak peek. In Waterfall, you focus on code that meets the requirements. In extreme programming, it's the quality of code. So we'll come back to that in the next section. Waterfall's good for large projects, but it's not good where things change. What about the mark scheme for the next one? Here we go. That was comparing waterfall with RAD, rapid application development. We've done all of these already. In RAD, it's again. So we've just written up extreme programming. We've said it's one flavour of the agile family of doing things. Often involves paired programming, where one person's writing, the other person's critiquing, spotting potential problems, vulnerabilities, exploits, things that could go wrong. It could take longer to end up with a prototype than rapid application development, but hopefully that prototype is going to be better, more secure, more reliable, and will take fewer resources to run it and less effort to maintain it in future. So the idea with this iterative approach is that you start with something that is horrendous, as in you're planning some new software for a CAT scanner in a hospital. What's the worst thing that could happen? It doesn't detect cancer when it's supposed to. So then you develop some codes, you write some codes, you test some codes, you plan what you're going to do next, and you review it to see whether it's working, and then you think, right, what's the next most risky thing? And then you develop some code and you test some code and you plan what you're going to do next in the next iteration. Each iteration involves a prototype, something that you can give to your client and get some feedback on. And then you review it, both as programmers and client, and you work out what the next thing is. We can see here the cumulative cost. As you go round and round and round, your project gets better. There's more features. It's easier to use. It's better. But it takes more time, and time means money. The good thing about this is it's not waterfall. Waterfall would go all the way from beginning to end before you show the client anything. And at that point, you've got a finished product, but it might not necessarily be what they want. It's what they asked for, but that's very rarely what they wanted. So let's get something like this into the slides. For Spiral, again, Spiral is an iterative approach, but it's a risk-focused approach. It's an iterative approach